When I was watching the pilot episode of the new Harley Quinn series on the DC streaming service that no one has, I was really enjoying it, and I thought to myself, this is kinda realistic, but not in the literal sense. Bones were breaking and it was bloody, but it obviously wasn't going into painstaking detail to try to figure out what these characters would be like in the real world. But it was still realistic. It wasn't asking how the Joker would act in the real world like in The Dark Knight and Joker's portrayals, but instead it asked what the world would be like if supervillains had very obvious layers and the Legion of Doom was a publicly recognized organization.
We cannot condone Dr. Psycho's use of the C word, as it does not represent our brand of evil. We hereby banish him from the Legion of Doom Europe, and the Junior Doomers of America.
How would the public view villains with over-the-top personalities and very disposable thugs? And I think those were the right questions to ask when writing a comedy series that doesn't take itself too seriously.
I think you're alone.
Hell yeah!
Ever since Christopher Nolan's Batman Begins, I feel like a lot of Batman fans, including myself, only want to see a darker, realistic take on the character. And we've mostly gotten that. The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises followed Batman Begins and received a lot of money at the box office, and 2016's Batman v Superman portrayed an even darker version of the Batman, where he kills. And now, as Matt Reeves and Robert Pattinson's The Batman prepares for a 2021 release, it looks like we're again going to get a dark version of the character, which Reeves says will be the definitive Batman. Here we approach my issue with the whole thing. I actually like the dark version of the character, and I like the lighter versions like Will Arnett's Lego Batman. The problem is the fixation on realism. For the character of Batman specifically, realism has been distorted into meaning only grounded or gritty. Grounded has become wearing hardened Kevlar armor, and gritty has become smashing thugs' heads in with boxes. And I think that smartly, all of these realistic depictions have a very limited rogues gallery. One critique I've heard of Batman in the comics or the animated shows is that Arkham is basically a revolving door for Gotham's criminals, and Batman isn't actually doing any good if they're just released every week. This is almost necessary for comics with thousands of issues and TV shows with hundreds of episodes, but the movies have been able to get around this problem by having villains appear for usually only one movie at a time. But Harley Quinn has embraced that problem. The show has somehow nailed both the silly, perpetually released criminals with an overly serious Dark Knight. I was worried at first that the show would make Batman just as silly as the criminals, but the opposite is true. I've laughed the hardest at some of Batman's lines because they contrast so well with the rest of the world. Harley Quinn's Batman believes that he is grounded and gritty, but his world is not.
I'll never give up my pudding.
Why are you protecting a psychotic clown who treats you like garbage?
That's because the characters of Harley Quinn have informed the world. Any good show or movie will have the characters inform the world, and the world in turn inform the characters. And that's what I mean by Harley Quinn being realistic. It has believable characters that are fun twists from their classic depictions in the comics. And I can now appreciate that because there are so many different depictions now that if I want my grounded and gritty Gotham, I can still have it.
Incorrect. The Steelers have won the most games at Gotham Stadium.
I'm gonna blow up Gotham Stadium.